Alright, Shalom, call all y'all about Shem Shah. Yeah, still like it. My voice is a little off right now. But I'm still gonna push this video out. So anyway, I was looking at the news and I happened to see this online. And I was cracking up, man. I'm like, Babylon is definitely through. Because Babylon and what's going on. I said, the world's largest military can't beat its troops. Why is that? Let's get into this.
I want to talk to this guy. Hey, dude, I love your car.
Hello, I ain't trying to hear it right now. Let me see past this.
U.S. troops who have made it their life's mission to serve and protect this country have been facing a major challenge right here at home. Thousands of U.S. troops have been plagued with food insecurity and have been finding it hard to provide for their families, especially during the pandemic. Independent journalist Ashley Banks tells us why.
Thousands of active duty military members in service at home and abroad are struggling to have their basic needs met. Roughly 160,000 of them are facing food insecurities and are finding it hard to provide food for their families. Feeding America, an organization geared toward coordinating work with food banks across the nation, says food insecurity is an issue in America and the military is not exempt. According to activists, military members have been dealing with this issue for years. However, it has worsened during the COVID pandemic. Junior-level enlisted service members who have children are amongst those who are impacted the most. According to Feeding America, 29% of junior-level enlisted troops face food insecurity in 2020.
That's fucked up. Now, look at Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear fruit, the people mourn. And that's why they mourn and they fucked up right now, because you're going to fight wars for the wicked. Bankers, the Rothschilds, Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, all the different families, they orchestrate these wars. Some people thinking they're going to fight for the country. No, you're going to fight the Esau red ass.
This is due
And not Esau ain't want to feed you. You got the troops going to food banks.
part to their low salaries and their frequent relocations, which makes it hard for their non-military spouses to find steady work. Another underlying issue is an agriculture department school.
Let me go back to this in the book of Isaiah. See, this is why I was talking to somebody about this recently too. This is why Isaiah 4 and 1 gonna come into play too. You gotta read chapter 3 though to really get the gist of it. You know, it says, let me see, go ahead. Alright, Isaiah chapter 3, I'm going to just jump down to verse 24 and just read on down. It says, and it should come to pass, that's a sweet smell, that should be a stink. Instead of a girdle or rent, instead of a well-set hair baldness, instead of a stomach, a girding of sackcloth and burning of beauty. It said, thy man shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. And this what's been going on too. They don't put it in the news like that, they're heavy. A lot of men been dying over there, committing suicide, ODing, bugging out and getting a lot of psych wards. So they're going to have a lot of women, they're going to be widows. In verse 26, it says, in her gate she lament and mourn, and she being desolate, she sit upon the ground. And I was riding like 2 days ago, and I was just seeing like a few women just sitting out on the ground, sitting on the curb and shit. I'm like, damn, I was like, that's crazy. That made me think about it in the book of Isaiah as I seen that.
Stopping families in need from being able to access the government assistance program called SNAP, which provides food stamps for
when Esau shut that shit down, it's going to, all type of shit going to be going on.
low-income families. Senator Tammy Duckworth, a former Black Hawk pilot deployed in Iraq, weighed in on the issue and said it's one of these things that the American people don't know about. We're the mightiest military on the face of the earth, and yet those who are in the lower rung of our military ranks are, if they are married and have a child or two, they're hungry.
That means the military not that mighty. Okay, you got a mighty military, the people gonna eat. You gonna make sure they taken care of, protected, in good standing. That's how a military really supposed to be. supposed to be nobody hungry, and then they got children, they got warriors, and they going to fight for you, and they got family that's hungry. That don't even make sense.
How can you focus on carrying out the mission and defending our democracy if you're worried about whether or not your kid gets dinner tonight?
So they all fucked up. They can't even think. They go send them over there across seas. I'm like, damn. My wife did say she was hungry before I left. They fuck around and get hit by a roadside bomb. Thinking about that shit.
At this time, Congress is aiming to find avenues to combat the food insecurity issue. Recently, Senator Duckworth sponsored a bill called Basic Needs Allowance, which would allocate funds to military families across the nation who are in desperate need of food and other household items. Reporting in Washington, Ashley Banks.
And joining me now to discuss is Tyrell Ventura, host of Watching the Talk. Now, Tyrell, the biggest question that comes out of all of this is how is it possible that so many military families are battling long-term food insecurity in the nation that not only has the largest military on the earth, but also spends the most on its military by far? I mean, why haven't we seen more action taken by the government so far?
Because we don't spend money in the military on the soldier. We generally spend money in the military on the bombs or on the higher-ups and on the big-ticket items. Or throwing money at Lockheed Martin or Raytheon or one of the big defense contractors of the military-industrial complex.
Or they sending the money to the small hats over there.
It's very little of that money actually sees its way down to the soldier unless it's the technology they're carrying that allows them to kill better on the battlefield. And the real truth of this problem is that, look, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, the military only wants one person. That's the soldier that signed up. The military ultimately doesn't care about that soldier's family or that soldier's kids. Why? Because they only need what they can get out of that one soldier. That's the real truth of it. So, yeah, they're going to pay you a salary, but do they care if you can feed your wife or your kids or your husband or your kids off that salary? No, because they only care about you and what you can do for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's a sad truth, especially when you're looking at how much those families do play a role in their lives and how much those soldiers take on. I mean, yes, they're signing up, wanting the pride of being able to say that they are defending their country, but then at the same time...
Yeah, a lot of them, they be full of shit anyway, because they be saying, I'm signing up to defend the country. They be signing up to take care of them damn kids. Nah, that shit done backfired on their ass.
And there's a lot that comes with it and a lot that comes with that commitment. Now, I know that a lot of this data is coming from the last year, so how...
And I'm saying this, I know some person that's done that.
How has the pandemic played a role in making the situation worse, specifically for the military members and their families?
Well, look around us. I mean, you can look around in your own life and see how the pandemic has played a hardship role in your life in terms of food and inflation rising and the access to things with supply chain issues. So that's only going to be exacerbated or about the same. You know, if you're someone who's, you know, living on if you're a military soldier on active duty or living near a base, I mean, they're still going to go through the same problems we all go through. We would expect they wouldn't, because they're doing a service for the country. You'd think that the country would step up and try to take care of them and take care of their families. But as I alluded to earlier, at the end of the day, the military, hey, you're the one who signed up. If you decided to have marriage or a kid, that's not the military's problem at the end of the day. That's your problem. And that's kind of the attitude that I think a lot of the military takes with this kind of thing. And it's also the attitude that's kind of kept this a secret and that's kept this down, because nobody wants to step up and say, hey, my family can't eat, but yet I'm serving my country, because it's, you know, they don't have that kind of attitude or environment that allows soldiers to speak out like that, or allow them to feel confident or invigorated to speak out about their issues and their problems. The military doesn't breed that kind of thing, especially when you're talking about these soldiers who are, you know, low ranking, you know, E1, E4. That's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to rank in the U.S. military.
Yeah, and certainly I know for a lot of them, they may be thinking, hey, this is just a temporary problem. I'm going to keep working and keep trying to get a higher rank to then I won't have to deal with this. But I mean, still, we're talking about food insecurity, one of the most basic aspects of their daily lives. You would think that more would be done, or that at least more would be done for those soldiers when it comes to their families. Now, what are the long-term impacts here? I mean, we're talking about the families that are struggling, but we're also talking about the prospective recruits who are looking at possibly joining the military. Is this likely to keep people from joining if they already have a family or they're looking at having a family because they're concerned that they may not be able to survive as the course of the military is right now?
See, there's some advertisement coming up. Hey, words from the wise. A wise man, I should say. Don't join no fucking military, especially if you know these prophecies that's coming to pass, right? Let me read on down some more. It's in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, in verse 7, it said, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk good wine, therefore the nations are mad. And the nations are actually mad right now. And they mad with this place. Because they see the hypocrisy that be going on. And recently it was just something out. I ain't queued it up. It was basically talking about how the U.S. bombed Syria and they feel like they ain't do nothing wrong. It was an accident. Them nations, they see stuff like that and that infuriate them. Them doing deals, trying to ship goods. Now they trying to ship all these goods. They're not even getting through. There's still stuff sitting off the coast of California and other ports as well. Like down in Florida, you got Mayport near Jacksonville. You got the other port near Georgia. The ports in New York, Port of Miami, port, and all the different ports down there. And a lot of stuff not getting through right now. Now, verse 8, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her to take balm for her pains? If so, she may be healed. And this place is not going to be healed. Let me go to the other video real quick. Now, don't get it twisted. That don't mean just go off and go let yourself go and go be a bum. Just sit around smelling and whatever. You got to take care of yourself. Make sure yourself moving. How you're supposed to move. Have faith in your house shot. Make sure your life going according to this plan, so to speak. And you're protected from all these things because, man, a lot of people, they don't know this stuff going on. And I did my study like I like to do. I went around and asked numerous people about this stuff that's going on. 80% of them don't know what the fuck going on.
And we're grateful to have her now. Ken, it's great to see you. So they are intentionally making things worse because tearing down what we have is a prerequisite to building utopia. I think that is the answer to what we're seeing.
Oh, hold on. Let me go to this real quick. It's the book of Malachi. You hear what he's saying? Let me run that back one more time.
Intentionally making things worse because tearing down what we have is a prerequisite to building utopia. I think that is the answer to what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's what they do. But look, book of Malachi, chapter 1 and verse 4. It says, whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return to build the desolate places. Thus said the Lord of hosts. They should build, but I will throw down, and they should call them a border of wickedness, the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. He never stopped having an indignation. When you look into that word indignation, let's go to that real quick. Indignation. It says anger or annoyance provoked by what is perceived as unfair treatment, resentment, umbrage, affront, disgruntlement, anger, distress, unhappiness, discontent, dissatisfaction, displeasure, vexation, irritation, annoyance. So most I say you're going to have indignation with them forever. You see, these are the type of scriptures that a lot of people don't like hearing because they be like, a man wrote that. But when they hear the other part, though, that part don't matter that the man wrote that part because it sound good. But when it starts sounding a little a little rough and it ruffle a few feathers, then, oh, that was written by a man, though. Whatever.
That's exactly correct, and this is an especially sensitive topic for me today because I spent the earlier part of the day speaking to a North Korean defector, and I was actually horrified hearing her speak about what she lived through while she was in North Korea and understanding that, you know, what they're really trying to do right here in America is build exactly that model where the state controls and owns and operates everything. You will have nothing and you will be happy because you will have served some higher purpose, some higher government, some higher idea, which you're talking about, these ideologues, some higher idea, green new energy. You did it for your planet. You need to have nothing. You need to shut down these pipelines. You're not going to be able to afford to fill up gas, but look at you. You should be proud because now this is a part of the Green New Plan. And by the way, if you want anything, you've got to worship government. This is the whole reason why when we talk about what is the thing that connects these attack of the education system, why are they dumbing down kids? Why are they being so horrible about families? Why do they want parents?
Esau looking, Esau inspecting this shit like, hold up, she asking some shit.
Why do they want children turning to government and not to their parents for answers? Well, one thing that ties this all is that they don't want there to be anything but the state in your individual lives. In fact, one of the things that this North Korean defector told me was that there was no concept of love.
You see, that next goes back to slavery. All this is modernized slavery. Because back then, you had to go to massa. You ain't going to your old pappy. And the women, they for sure was going to massa. Massa was doing all type of other stuff too on top of that.
Right? She said, we don't have words like stress. We don't have words like social justice in Korean. She said, there's no concept of this in the state because they don't want you to even think about that because you're supposed to know that this is how things are supposed to be. Every movie that they're allowed to watch in North Korea, and this really terrified me, the only concept of anybody dying is for the state. The highest honor is for the state. We're seeing right now, people thought this was a radical concept years ago, and this is a Republican talking point. It's not. We are seeing America being radically transformed into a communist country. That is what is happening right now. People need to wake up to this, Tucker. I cannot say it enough because it's happening quickly. How have they done it? They need...
See, when people gonna wake up when it's too fucking late. And then they're gonna be called, oh God, help me, please God. And all that. They're gonna be too late then. That's what the scriptures say. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 55 and verse 6. It says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near. Don't wait till Esau really lock this shit all the way down again, because they gonna do it again. They open it back up just to fuck with you. It's a mental thing, make you think shit going good. It's like somebody walking when we used to be in class, motherfucker think they finna sit down on a seat and pull the chair from under them. That's the type of mentality Esau got with people. Make you think everything good, it's getting back to normal. A little money floating around, little goodies. That's what the scripture say, a gift destroys the heart. Because it clouds your judgment. You give somebody some goodies, a gift. The whole time you've been fucking them up and doing all type of stuff, you just turn around and give them $100,000 or something. They're going to be satisfied. They're happy they forgot about all that pain. Because they got them goodies. And then they lock this shit back down, then it's back to the real plan that they want to do. Go to the other precept in the book of Job. But they're going to get to a certain point. And the main point, that certain man waiting on that's been prophesied in the book of Revelation is when they collapse that dollar and they make that, you know what, mandatory. The book of Job, chapter 20, and verse 23, it says when he's about to fill his belly. Because they're going to get to that point. They're going to lock shit down. It's still going to be more digital. The currency already going to that level. That's why you keep hearing people talking about invest in crypto, get crypto. Get the you know what. You don't need credit cards no more. You don't need coins no more. The money hold bacteria. They was prepping this shit. It says when he was about to fill his belly, God should cast the fury of his wrath upon him and should rain it upon him while he's eating. Because even though the elites want to make certain areas and certain countries move like that, you're still gonna have that resistance. Like I mentioned in previous videos, most wars will start due to food shortages, sanctions, and financial reasons. So if the other countries is not trying to go with this program, they start experiencing the food shortages, which they are, it's in the news. You gotta go look it up, do your homework. Their financial system get messed up. Then you start hearing stuff about, like, you go over here where I got queued up, China builds mock U.S. warships for target practice. Why are they doing that? A lot of them goods that China make money off of ain't being shipped. So that's fucking up their money. The oil stuff with Iran, that's fucking up their money too. Getting in the mix of Iran and Russia, that's fucking up their money. So all that's gonna lead up to this third war. Meanwhile, a lot of people they don't even know the fuck going on for real, man. That's why it's good to be in the know. This is the precept. This is the book of Zechariah. And let me see where I want to start at. Give me 1 minute, let me go down real quick. This book of Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8, it says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." And I seen this other video too that made me think of that as well. Go to it real quick. It says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. And they should call on my name." You gotta know who to call on. You don't call the pizza man if you need a plumber. So you gotta know who you're calling on. It says, "And I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my power." Now, this one video, and I ain't gonna play the rest of this one with Candace Owens on there. You can go back to that yourself. Which says 1/3 of workers in the U.S. hospitals, they ain't take the you know what. The other you know what, I should say. This is not the ultimate thing that they try to push. But the reason why 1/3 of them didn't take it, because they're aware what's going on. 2/3, they not aware. They gonna listen to Esau. Listen to what Master say, good old Master. And go with the bullshit. And then when shit hit the fan, then they gonna be looking crazy. In a minute, I'm gonna pull one more precept and then I'll end this off.
The Biden administration is moving forward with mandating the COVID-19 vaccine for an estimated 3.5 million federal employees, which goes into effect today, and for around 17 million healthcare workers, which is set to go into effect on January 4th, 2022. But as it stands, nearly 1/3 of the healthcare workers in the U.S. still are not vaccinated, raising questions about if they will lose their jobs as various protests are held across the country. So joining me now to discuss the latest is internal medicine doctor and author Dr. Bob Arnott. Dr. Bob, it's great to have you on the show today. Now, we're hearing from the Biden administration that 90% of federal employees are complying with the vaccine mandate as it takes effect today, but the CDC says 1/3 of healthcare workers still are not, as they face a deadline in the coming weeks. What do you make of those numbers?
So, Rachel, what's interesting is that a lot of people see healthcare as a monolith, which it absolutely isn't. So if you look at practicing physicians, 96% of them have been vaccinated. If you look at those individuals who are working in long-term care facilities, who may not have professional degrees and don't have that same level of education and knowledge, they're vaccinated at a much, much lower rate. Also, if you look at the kind of hospital, that is, children's hospitals have the very highest rate of vaccination, and the lowest are what we call public access hospitals. So those are hospitals to emergency care and just have some inpatient care in the poor rural areas where you have the highest degree of the disease. So what happens with healthcare workers, as they point out, is that they're not driven by science outside of the highest professional levels. They're driven by family, friends, and by social media. And I know that, Facebook in particular has been criticized, of course, by the administration in terms of a lot of the anti-vaxxer messaging getting out.
So, the main point of me even showing this, it's not about the you-know-what on this. This is just leading up to the other you-know-what. Let me go to this real quick. Look at Revelation chapter 16 and verse 2. Let's see. Oh, yep. It says, "And the first went," talking about the angel, "and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped the image." Now, just me showing this, I done slipped up a little bit. I don't know if they're gonna take the video down because I don't slid that term in there. But if they don't, they don't. If they do, they do. But the main thing is, a lot of people, they're really not aware of what's really going on. And they're just listening to the lies that Esau push up and not doing no homework, not being vigilant, circumspect. But the information out there, so it's all on you. Really, ultimately, it's up to y'all about shit. I'm trying to open your mind, open your eyes, so you can have them eyes to see and ears to hear. So I just want to bring this out. While I watch this edifying video. Like I say, Salakia, my voice a little choppy. I'm getting that back together. Got some natural stuff. I ain't have to go to Esau red ass for nothing. And I'll bring out something else later on through the spirit. Shalom to the elect.